Hello, Lakeview family. Hope you are doing well this week. Excited for Sunday as always, and especially excited. I was gone uh, a week and a half ago, not this past Sunday, but the Sunday before, out of town, and we launched our new series, Burden of Proof. And I'm super excited for this series. I've shared before, Pastor Rochelle has planned this whole 6 week series in First John and figure out the theme and kind of the direction to go with each of the Sundays, and then work with the staff to find people to preach on different Sundays. And so this is one of the Sundays that I was asked to preach, and I am excited. Particularly excited for a couple things. One, it's our Vision Sunday, so kind of our annual meeting where we report on things from last year, talk about the highlights, look at what God has been doing, remind us of our mission and our vision and who we are as God's people and the unique work that God is calling us to do as Lakeview Nazarene in the place that we are planted with the people that we are among, are called to be disciples, love our neighbors, and make disciples. So I'm excited to share those things, to talk about both what God has been doing in this past year and also what we believe God is calling us toward and beginning to see what is ahead. And the nexus of this conversation about our vision, where we've been, where we're going, what God is doing, is this idea of action as proof. First John is packed with conversation about love. And in this passage, specifically in chapter 3, we'll be looking at a big chunk of chapter 3, verses, I believe it's 16 to 24, kind of in that range, probably dipping back into a little bit of 11. But it contrasts, if we start at verse 11, contrasts this idea of hate and love. And those are strong words that stand at opposites of each other. And there's a lot of that we see in the world. And the conversation for John and for the early church, specifically around this idea of what Jesus reminded them when he was on earth, is that people, the world, would hate them because of him, because of the gospel and the message, this countercultural way of doing life. So we pick up some of these things, but particularly are pointed toward this idea of love and beginning to prove and understand and see what that is. So we are looking through this lens, both literally and figuratively, to investigate and to see where we find the proof of love through action, specifically through the things that we are doing. 1 John 3:18, which happens to be Melissa Roskam's favorite verse. Dear brothers and sisters, let us not love with word or tongue, but in action and in truth. So it's not about the things that we say. It's not about necessarily holding the right idea or ideology or perspective and teaching that and espousing that and aligning ourselves simply with what we say we believe. The author in this text is pointing specifically to not just loving with words, with the things that we say, but loving in action and in truth. And I believe there is a key link between the idea of action and truth, meaning what we truly believe, what is true in the world, is visualized, is seen, is experienced in action. And so we'll be looking through, and I'll give you a little kind of peek behind the curtain. We're going to have little magnifying glasses that we'll give you. And we're going to have this serve as kind of a metaphor for us that we are investigating. We are looking back at this year of things both that the church collectively has done as well as we as individuals. In what ways has love come through our lives in the things that we do, the actions that God has called us to, that the Spirit has led and directed us to. And thinking about then as this year progresses in the coming years and the days and weeks and months ahead of us, what are the things we are doing with our lives? What are the ways we are living out the message of the gospel that we talk about every week? We're gathered in. God breathed us in to worship together, to remind us of who we are, to continue to form and shape us to be little Christs, to then send us out into a world that is desperate for that love. Right? We gather every Sunday at the end of our service at the table to experience this gracious meal of forgiveness and love where God lavishly pours out on us his grace and his mercy. And we take this bread and cup to remind us, right, of the body that was shed for us and the blood that was shed for us, to become for the world the body of Christ, redeemed by his blood, a line that I say every week. And these are things that we believe, that the action of the people of God, the followers of Christ, the action of us going out into the world is proof of the love of God, the existence of God, the reality of God and his presence, and the call that God has for the church to be redemptive agents in the world. So, as you can tell, I'm excited about Sunday, excited to tell stories and to talk about what is happening and the things that we are looking forward to, and also to hear from you. Another little sneak peek, that'll be the question of the week that asks you to think about, what ways have you seen God working? What are you excited about that God has been doing, both in Lakeview and in your own life, things that you've seen? And what are you most looking forward to in the future? So, excited to continue this story together, to journey through 1 John, and to continue to learn more about how we can be disciples, love our neighbor, and make disciples. So, have a blessed week, and we will see you soon.